Today's video is on how I use my mill as a lathe and how the setup is done and how the G code is created. And for the G code, I use Fusion 360 with a modified post, and I'll put a link to that post that I modified down in the comments below. And I'm using the G52 work offsets, so since my jig is pretty much the same each time, what I do is I'll use this as my 0 point, and then I'll map out each of the XYZ coordinates of each of the points, and then I made a chart here. So basically this is my chart, and then in my tool table I will underneath each of the tools I'll put the G52 X, Y, and Z with those numbers in it. So when I go to modify the created post in Fusion 360, all I got to do is cut and paste, and I don't have to remember or worry about typing in something wrong. So this is basically a setup, and the next part will be actual creating the code and modifying it. Okay, this is the cam and the post processor portion, and so basically you just do standard lathe tool paths. And one thing I like to do under the setup tab here, I like to make sure this home position is greater than the distance between my lowest tool on the table and my tallest tool. So the difference between the two, I want to make it greater than that. That way when it rapids from a short tool to a long tool, I don't get a crash. So I will make that like 5 inches. And that can be edited later. So if you're going from one short tool to another short tool, you can change that to make the rapids go quicker, and the program will be a lot faster that way. But for just now and doing a first run test, I like to leave it as high as possible. So I'll hit OK. I'll regen tool paths. So now my tool is down here. So that's how far it would rapid every time it. So when it goes from one tool to the next, it will go that distance. And then the other thing with each tool, I like to go in the post processor tab. I go in the comments. I will put a comment of the type of tool and the location in my jig. So I have 3 locations. So this would be in location 1. And then I put the G52 coordinates of that tool in that location. And I will use that later when editing the posted code. It'll make things go faster, and I won't have any typos or errors. So I will show that later on. So I'll show that. Okay, so post process, and this is the post processor I'm using. I will put in the description below, I'll put a link to that. And this is a modification of this code here, of this post processor. That's a Tormach Slant Pro for radius. And these are both on the same forum page on Fusion 360's website. So these are almost, I think I posted, they're on the same page basically. And so the only difference between the two is the one I modified is the it adds a G52 before and after every operation, and it deleted some unnecessary stuff that a mill controller just didn't recognize or didn't like. So I'll show that later on. And the other thing I do is optional stop, I say no. That way I don't have to edit out the M5s and the M1 optional stops in the posted code. I'll post that. This top. Okay, and I'll edit the, let's see, I'll edit the code here in Notepad. Let's see. So this is the newest, this is the code that was posted here with my modified, with the G52 modified post. And this is the original, this is what the original code would look like with the turn, with the lathe post. And you can see the difference here. The G7's gone. This has been deleted. The tool's been deleted. If you load this into Mach 3 mill, it will not. It'll say unrecognized or invalid or something like that. I got rid of these two. They're not really needed for that. These aren't needed for the mill. And then it gets rid of this G30 Z pound 5422 after every operation. So I was sort of getting tired of going in here and deleting all this stuff and deleting, and then you have to go down to, then you have to go down here, and then you have to delete all this other, delete this out. So this post over here, you can see it's already, none of that stuff is in there. And it adds a G52, and then it says paste code here, and it also adds a G0, X0, Y0. And I will show later on how to change this in the post processor. So if you want to change it to just Y0, or you want a Z, want it to move to Z first, there's a way to do that, and I'll show you that. So I put this in. This is in here as a placeholder. So if I forget to copy and paste the code, Mach 3 will say, you know, something's wrong. So if I forget something, this is where I'll get a warning. So what I do is I copy here, and then I paste, and I'll delete this, delete, and paste, and then I'll go down here. So this is the new, zero location for that tool. And this line here tells it to go without, you have to put a Y0. If you don't, it will not move to that. Y will not change at all. So you have to definitely put a Y0 in here. You can probably get rid of that if you want. And then down here at the end it has G52, and this will cancel that offset. And then for the next tool, you want to copy and delete and paste. And that's the new location for that one. And then it down here it cancels it out. That cancels it automatically. And then this one here is, you gotta copy and paste and delete and paste. So I have to make sure they're the same. And I go down here to the next one. So then that offset is canceled here. And then this is your new offset. So you want to copy. And I'm going to delete this. Delete. And paste. And then that offset is canceled by this G52 here. And it goes down through rewinds, and then when it starts at the top, it goes back to the G54. So that would be your origin on your zero on your tooling jig. That'd be the corner of my tooling block, and then from there it starts all over again. It'll go there. And so the next part is going to be on modifying the post processor for this line of code, so you can add a Z operation or change this to whatever you want. Okay, this is on how to modify this first move here. So after it calls up this G52, which I showed previously, you cut that and you paste that in here, and then it will do you can have it do a move to a certain position. I'm going to show how you can change this line here in the post processor. So you can make it move, you can make it do a Z move first, wrap it to a certain Z height, and then go to your X, Y, whatever you want it to be. Or you can just have it wrap it to a Y or to an X, whatever. So I'm going to show how you can customize this line right here. I will get out of that. You go up here so you pick the post processor, and you open up config, and the lines you want to modify for that is line 423 and 424. So that's right here. These are the three lines of code here that control. This controls that writing the G52, and this is paste code here. You can delete this if you want, but I would leave it in there just as a safety device. So if you want to change the XY here, you can put, say, if you wanted to move the X1, Y1, and then if you want it to go to a Z position, this is commented out. So all you need to do is get rid of the double backslash, and where it says Z0 right here, you can just make it rapid to say 2, and you just save that. Go over to File, Save, and go out. You go into, I'll repost that here. Yes. Yes. And you can see right here, and so right here at these two lines. Why is this not cooperating? So now whenever it posts the code, it will post whatever coordinates you want. So after every and right here does the same thing. And if you want to change it so the Z moves first, you just switch those two lines of code around, and I'll show how that's done. Let's go to Open Config. Let's see, 420. Okay, so I will go to that 2. I'll go here and make that 0, 0. I will. And you go up here to edit. space, and you no, and you go edit, paste. So now that just switched. So now it'll do a Z2 and then go to XY0. So I will save. Go up here to postcode, post. Yes. And so now you see it goes to Z2 and then it will go XY0. And the same way with right here. So that's how you modify the, so right after the G52 you want it to move to certain coordinates. That's how you change that where it moves to after the G52 move. Thank you for watching. Okay, I just wanted to show an example of how the code is displayed in Mach 3. The circular moves are always, for some reason, it's displayed this way, just giant crop circles. I don't know if it's a bug or I have a setting wrong in Mach 3, but it does correct. It does cut on the correct toolpath, so I just sort of ignore this. So I just suggest cutting some air, and it'll cut the way it normally would. So this is just a display malfunction. So I just wanted to show that if anybody sees it, the toolpaths are correct. It's just the display is wrong.